Hello and welcome to the start of my Declutter series for 2023. We are going to start off with complexion products, which I am classifying as foundations, concealers, and powders. Welcome if you are new here. My name is Rachel, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I just have a few disclaimers that I want to start off with before we get to the declutter. I always put timestamps down below in the description box, by the way, if you want to skip around. Everything that I end up decluttering from my collection, I either throw it out if it's expired or old, or I give it away to friends and family. I do have 4 sisters-in-law and a teenage niece, so they get the pick of all the makeup that I declutter from my collection every Christmas. I bring it over for Christmas. So that is one thing I wanted to let you know about if you are wondering. The other thing is, if any of these brands, I did receive the products in PR, I either say it and or I pop it up in the corner of the screen just so in case you're wondering. If I have any discount codes with these brands, again, I will either pop them up on the screen or put them in the description box. I always put in the description box my discount codes with brands. And for this particular declutter, I am going to list all of the products that I talk about with my shades. I say 99% of the shades of the foundations, concealers that I use, but just in case you want to look for reference, they will be in the description box. And then last but not least, my skin type, for your information so you can know my preferences, is I have a very oily, acne-prone skin type. I am 37, so fine lines and wrinkles are starting to be a concern of mine. I definitely prefer a matte satin finish in both my foundations and my concealers. And for concealer, I want at least a medium coverage because I do have very dark under eyes. And if you have any questions about my nails, I get them done at a salon and I get Gel X. So I don't know what, what my nail color is. I just know it's a gel polish with a chrome powder on top. So I think that's all I have to say. Enjoy this declutter. All right, we're gonna start off with foundations. I have a lot of foundations for me. As someone who really uses the same 3 foundations every day, these are the ones that I'm going to go through. I'm probably going to get rid of a lot of them. I also want to note that over the past, I would say year and a half, my skin has become extremely sensitive to foundations. Many foundations break me out or give me like really bad pain from like clogged pores. So I'm going to kind of explain the ones that do that for me here. All right, so let's start. So let's start off with ones that I know I'm going to keep. This one I literally just bought during the Sephora sale. This is the Too Faced Born This Way Matte. Specifically, I have mine in the shade Light Beige. This has been one of my favorite foundations, like a go-to for me. It is like the perfect matte finish. It's not overly matte, but also I want to note I have very oily, acne-prone skin. So if you have dry skin, I don't know if you would love this. You'll have to let me know in the comments if you have dry skin and you've used this. But as an oily-skinned gal, my cat is playing over there, by the way, if you hear him. This is a great one for me. The shade Light Beige is okay. It's a little orangey because it's a quote neutral undertone, and I'm a yellow olive. And it's not perfect, but it works for me right now. So I'm definitely keeping this one. Another one that is brand new to my collection is the Fenty Beauty Eavesdrop Blurring Skin Tint. I have mine in the shade 5. It's a literal perfect shade match for me right now in the winter time. I think it's described as like a yellow undertone, and I 100% agree. Once I put it on my skin, it sinks in and it looks like I don't even have foundation on. I would consider this more light to medium coverage. I can't really get it above a medium coverage, which is fine. I've been enjoying this. I've only used it maybe 5 times so far, but I've been enjoying it, so I'm going to keep this. Another one that I'm going to keep is my other like absolute favorite foundation. This is the Maybelline Matte and Poreless. I have mine in the shade 128. This is good. Again, it's a little bit orangey because neutral undertones tend to look a little orangey on me, but it's okay. I make it work. I wore this on my wedding day. Like, if that tells you anything, like, it's my favorite foundation currently. I love it. So definitely keeping this one. One that I'm going to get rid of is the Maybelline Fit Me Dewy and Smooth. It's just a little too dewy for my oily skin. I just don't love the finish. I have the same shade 128, but I am going to get rid of this one and I'm going to pass it on to someone else because it's fairly new. It's like less than a year old, but it just doesn't work for me. I'm going to get rid of this only because it's just about empty. Like, I'm literally scraping the sides, but this is also one of my favorite foundations of all time. This is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Matte. Again, really beautiful matte finish, but not overly matte. It looks like skin, a medium coverage, very affordable. I have mine in the shade Bronze Beige, which is a really good summertime color for me. It's way too dark right now, and like I said, I'm scraping at it, so I'm just gonna throw it out. I will repurchase this next summer. Another one that I'm gonna get rid of is the It Cosmetics CC Cream. I actually have two. I have a mini and I have a full size. As you can see, I have not even opened this one, but I've had it for about a year and I've not used it. I've only ever dipped into this one, and usually I use this as a mix-in foundation because it's actually a little too dewy for my preferences. So I do like to add a drop of this when I want to make something a little dewier. I'm not sure if this is light or medium. It looks pretty dark. Let's just open it up and compare, because I know the big one is in the shade light. I think they're both light. This one just looks like it's maybe settled a little bit because it's older. Or maybe it's medium. I don't know. Listen, the truth of the matter is that I'm going to get rid of both of them. I don't need them. This one I'm going to throw out because it's pretty darn old. This one is pretty new, but I don't really see myself reaching for it. I'd rather just pass it on as a brand new foundation. Something that I am gonna keep is another one of my favorite foundations. This is the Beauty Blender Bounce Liquid Whip Longwear Foundation. I have mine in the shade 2.20N/O. Absolutely beautiful. One of my favorite, like I said, one of my favorite go-to foundations. This one is a little bit more on the natural side. It's not as matte on me. So I like this as an option if I'm traveling somewhere where it's a little bit drier, because I found that when I'm traveling somewhere where it's dry, and I use a very matte foundation, I don't love the results because I also live in a very humid climate when I'm at home. So when I go somewhere else, I do feel a difference in my skin. So I am gonna bring this one if I go somewhere where it's a little bit drier. It's just a beautiful medium coverage, and it is an olive undertone, which is awesome for me because not many foundations come in an olive undertone, so I am gonna keep this one. One I am going to declutter is the Physicians Formula, the Healthy Foundation. This used to be one of my most favorite foundations when I had more normal skin. It is very dewy, and this is in the shade MN4, which is good for my summertime shade, but not so much for winter. And again, my skin type is just changed a lot that I just don't feel like this one will fit me anymore. One that I'm absolutely going to keep is the NYX Born to Glow foundation. This is one of the few like quote glowy foundations that works for me. I feel like it's glowy without being like greasy or overly dewy. It's just so good, and unfortunately it's been discontinued. I have mine in the shade Nude, which is a good wintertime shade for me. I did use this the other day and it really worked for me, so I want to keep it. Another one that I'm going to keep is the Makeup Forever HD Skin Foundation. This one is in the shade 1N14. It's marketed as a neutral, so it is slightly orange leaning on me, but I make it work. I think this is a beautiful skin-like foundation. It is like natural matte on me, very lightweight on the skin, absolutely beautiful. The only thing with this is I cannot put it on my chin area because it will break me out, but I actually, when that happens to me, I usually grab my Maybelline Fit Me and I put this on my chin, and then I put this everywhere else. So I will be keeping this one. Another one that I'm going to keep, let me shake it up, is the CoverGirl Outlast Extreme Wear Light Airbrush Finish 24-hour transfer resistant SPF 18 liquid foundation, longest name in the world. But this is a beautiful full coverage matte foundation that I love using. This shade in particular, medium beige, is good for me in the summertime. It's a little dark for me right now, but I absolutely love this foundation for like more glam occasions. If I need to be a little bit more flawless, I love this one. Love it. This one I'm going to throw out because literally, again, there's like a drip drop left of it. It's pretty much empty, but this is one of my most favorite foundations as well. This is the Essence Pretty Natural Hydrating Foundation. I have mine in the shade 090 Neutral Suede. I'm pretty sure this has also been discontinued, which is unfortunate. I would definitely not classify this as a hydrating foundation. I don't know what they were thinking, but it's not hydrating on me. It is actually like natural matte, very lightweight, more of like a medium coverage, everyday go-to type of formula for me. And the shade is really nice, but there's like this much left. I'm just going to get rid of it. I'm going to toss it, or I might use it like one or two more times and then toss it, but I'm going to consider it, quote, a declutter. One that I'm going to let go that I've had for a really long time is the NYX Bare With Me Tinted Skin Veil. This is in the shade True Beige Buff. This is a beautiful tinted moisturizer type of product, but I just don't wear these types of products anymore. Oh, hello to my cat jumping in. Sweetie, you got to get down. I just don't wear these types of products anymore. I did not declutter this in last year's declutter, and I've not reached for it once. It's also pretty old. It's probably at least 2 years old, so I'm just gonna toss it. I'm not gonna bother passing it on, but if you do see this, it's been discontinued, but if you see this anywhere floating around and you are looking for like a really beautiful tinted moisturizer that's not overly dewy, like I don't like a lot of tinted moisturizers because they're too greasy on my skin. This is a really good one for oily skin. Next up, we have the One Size Turn Up the Base BBB Cream. This one is pretty new to my collection and I like it. I don't love it. I actually like it more for filming purposes. It's pretty heavy on the skin, if I'm gonna be honest with you, but it does look really nice on camera. It's medium to full coverage. It has a little bit of a thicker consistency. That's maybe why I don't love it, but I will keep it because it's pretty new to my collection and I like it, so I am going to keep it. I'm going to declutter the Oma by Sharon C Flawless in Real Life Skin Perfecting Foundation. I have mine in the shade Fair Lady T6. I like this one, but it does tend to break me out. I've tried to use it a handful of times in the recent months and it just makes my skin feel really like irritated. It is a beautiful, I would say natural leaning, slightly glowy, at least on me and my oily skin, but it does give a really beautiful medium coverage. I actually like how it looks for the first couple hours on my skin, but it just irritates my skin so much, so I am going to get rid of it. Next up, we have the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear. I have mine in the shade 425. This is another one that does irritate my skin, although it is an absolutely beautiful foundation. It looks gorgeous on the skin, very skin-like, medium to full coverage, lightweight, very liquidy, really good drugstore option, but for whatever reason, whatever ingredients are in this, it does break me out, so I will be decluttering this one. And then the last foundation is the KVD Good Apple Full Coverage Serum Foundation. I have mine in medium 045. This one is fine. I think I am going to keep it only because it's pretty new to my collection and I do want to keep one slightly dewy-ish foundation that I can use as a mixer if I need to, if something is too matte. This one is pretty dewy on me and right now it is a little dark, but in the summertime it's a good match. So I think I will keep this really as a mixing foundation. Using this on its own, it does get pretty oily on me pretty quick, but it is a very good full coverage foundation. If you are probably more normal to dry skin, you would enjoy this a little more than me, but I will be keeping it. So for the final results, I am decluttering 50% exactly, keeping 9, getting rid of 9. So that is amazing to me. That is perfect. I love that I have literally just like enough room for the ones I'm keeping in this bin and also maybe a little extra room if I buy a couple in this next coming year, but very happy with that number. Let's move on to concealers. I don't have a ton because again, I use the same damn concealers all the time. Let's start off with these. I'm definitely keeping some of my favorite concealers ever. So this is the Essence Keep Me Covered Concealer. I have 2 different shades because the shade range is god awful. And depending on the time of year, I either have to mix them or use one or the other, etc. But I do usually mix them. The names of the shades are not written on here, but I know that it's Shell is the lighter one and Light Medium is the darker one. Absolutely love this concealer. It's amazing. Medium to full coverage. It stays in place. It's beautiful. I love it. So definitely keeping these. So this is the Makeup Revolution IRL Filter Finish. I have mine in the shade C5. This one I actually put this year in my speed reviews in the top category, which I call yes, yes, yes. I feel like my preferences / I've found other things that work better for me as the year has gone on. So I don't really reach for this one except when I do a cut crease. So that's the reason I'm gonna keep this. I think this for a cut crease is really good because it's full coverage, it's matte. So it doesn't really crease on my eyes if I want to use it as a cut crease concealer, but I don't really typically use this under my eyes. I find it to be a little drying, a little too matte, but yeah, I will be keeping this for the sake of using it for cut creases. One that I am going to pass on is the Pacifica Dream Lit Glow Concealer. I did get this one in PR, but I've not reached for it once. I'm pretty sure that I have never even used it, but it is described as like a radiant finish, hydrating finish, and that is just not my jam when it comes to concealers. I prefer something that is matte, that's gonna stay put, or like satin matte. I just don't feel like I'm going to get use out of this, so I'd rather just pass it on right away. I'm going to keep the Natasha Denona High Glam Concealer. I have mine in N7. This one works great for me. I like this one. It is a little bit hydrating, or I should say a little bit more hydrating than what my preferences usually are, but I feel like it works pretty well on me. It's not an all-day wear concealer for me, but I do like to use it either as a mix-in or if I'm going to be wearing my concealer for a short amount of time. I think it looks really pretty under the eyes. It gives a medium to full coverage. The shade N7 works great for me, so I am going to be keeping this one. Another one that I'm going to keep is another one of my absolute favorite concealers that I reach for almost every day. It's the Gxve Perfect Complexion Eye Serum Concealer. I have mine in the shade LN035. Again, absolutely horrible shade range, and I get that they are a K-beauty brand, but I still think that they need to improve their shade range if they're marketing to the American customer. I mean, they're selling in America, so I mean, they should be expanding their shade range, but I will say this is my perfect concealer. I've never found a concealer I like more than this. Very thin under the eyes, lasts all day, medium coverage. My only complaint is the packaging. Like, look how disgusting that cap is because it is like a floof ball. I wish it wasn't, but other than that, absolutely keeping this one. This is not really concealer, it's a color corrector. This is the e.l.f. Camo Color Corrector in Peach. Another one of my favorite discoveries this year. I use it a lot, although I will say now that it is wintertime, it is a little too deep. Like if I put this under my concealer right now, you can see the dark peach color coming through. So I will reserve this for the, spring, summer, even going into fall, but I'm absolutely going to keep this. Absolutely love it. One that I'm going to pass on is the e.l.f. Hydrating Camo Concealer. I bought this, I want to say the end of last year or the beginning of this year, and I have not used it once. I've not reached for it once. I would rather pass it on while I can. I have the shade Light Peach, so I am going to pass this on. I'm going to keep the Maybelline Super Stay Active Wear. I have mine in the shade 10. Love this one, mostly more as a mix-in concealer. It's very, very, very thin. And I like to add this with like the Natasha Denona one that's a little more creamy so that I can balance it out. But it is a really good one from the drugstore that I enjoy, so I will be keeping it. I don't know why this Maybelline Falsies mascara is in here, so we're going to disregard that. I have the Milani Conceal and Perfect Longwear Concealer. This is in the shade 125 Light Natural. Once again, kind of like the Makeup Revolution one. It's pretty dry and a little too thick for my preferences now. Me a year ago loved this and was obsessed with this. That was more in line with my preferences. I mean, I wore Tarte Shape Tape for years, and this is giving Tarte Shape Tape for sure. So I am going to just declutter this. This one is probably over a year old. I'm not even going to bother passing it on. I'm just going to throw it out. So I will be getting rid of this one. Another one of my favorite finds from this year is the ColourPop No Filter Concealer. I have mine in medium 20. I got this one sent in PR. I had used this when they first came out this years ago, and I thought it was okay at the time, but now I love it. I love it. I love it. It is a medium coverage, definitely a matte foundation, but I don't feel like it's overly matte. I don't feel like it's too thick. It is a little bit more on the liquidy side, so I appreciate that. I almost never am a medium when it comes to a shade in a concealer, but this one is in medium, so I think that the shades run light. Just keep that in mind, but I'm absolutely going to keep this one. And last but not least, I actually did have two colors of this, but I must have already decluttered the other color. This is the Tower 28. I believe it's called like Swipe Something Concealer. I have mine in the shade K-Town. I like this concealer. It gives me the same vibe, same feeling as the Natasha Denona, where it's not an all-day wear concealer for me. It is a little bit more on the hydrating side. And so, I feel like I can wear this when I'm not wearing my concealer all day long, but it gives a good medium to full coverage. It's a little more liquidy than the Natasha Denona, but it is on the thicker side. I got this one sent in PR. I like it. I'm going to keep it. So I am going to keep 9 and only declutter 3, which is a little surprising to me, but fine. I mean, all the ones I'm keeping, I enjoy, and I already told you the reasons why I like them. So I'm happy with my decision. So I will be, I'm going to toss this one, and these two I literally have never even used. So I feel comfortable giving them to somebody in my life that may appreciate them. All right, so let's go through my setting powders last. I have more than I thought I did. I really didn't realize I had this many. So I have only two pressed powders here. I do have a third one that is in a bag. It's the Milani pressed powder that I took with me on my last trip just as a touch-up. So I am going to keep that one. And I think I'm going to get rid of the It Cosmetics Bye Bye foundation powder. This is another one that I used mostly as a touch-up powder, but it's pretty old. Like, it's pretty old, and it's quite deep for me, so I don't even feel like I would be able to use this until the summertime next year, and I think it's ran its course. I am going to just toss this one. This one I'm absolutely going to keep. This is the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless Finish Powder. This is in the shade Fair. Love this as more of a finishing powder. I don't like using it as a setting powder. I love to just like sweep this in my T-zone when I want a little bit more of that airbrush effect, which is what it's called. I think it does that beautifully. Definitely keeping this one. I'm going to pass on the Huda Beauty Easy Bake Loose Baking and Setting Powder in the shade Cupcake. I have used this maybe twice. I used to be very much into pink powders, not so much anymore, so I don't really feel like I need to keep this one. I just feel like it's a little too stark on my under eyes, but I feel like somebody else may appreciate this more, so I will be passing it on. See, this is why I need to declutter, because I didn't even realize I still had this in the back of my drawer. This is the Patrick Starrr and MAC powder. I bought this whenever, guys, years ago. Have I used this one? Maybe once or twice. You know what? I think I'm gonna let it go. It used to be my favorite powder, but this is so freaking old. And again, it is a pink powder, which is just not my jam anymore. Look how beautiful the packaging is, though. I mean, when this thing came out, it was life-changing to me, but for me, it's just not one that I'm really going to use. So I will be decluttering this one. This has almost nothing left in it. It's very, very low. This is the ColourPop No Filter Setting Powder in Translucent. I think this one is fine. Like, it's not bad. It's not great. I think I will just keep it because I probably can use it a handful more times to use it up, and then it'll be gone. And I do like this one, not for my under eyes, but more for just like setting my T-zone or the rest of my face or whatever. It's a good, I would say, medium weight. It's like not overly mattifying, but it's not super lightweight either. So I do appreciate this one. I will keep it. This is a newer one to my collection. This is the Lunar Beauty Universal Setting Powder in Translucent Light. I really didn't enjoy this one, unfortunately, and I'm probably one of the only people that didn't love it, but it wasn't like my ultimate favorite. It is one of those very, very, very finely milled powders that kind of poofs everywhere when you use it, because I think it's because it's talc free, which I know some people love. And when I mentioned this in my speed reviews video, so many people said that they love it, but I don't love it. It's just my preferences, I think, is what it comes down to. So it's pretty darn new. I am just going to pass this on to someone in my life. And so, yeah, I will be decluttering it. Another one that gives me the same vibes is the Sigma powder. This is the Soft Focus Setting Powder in Vanilla Bean. It has a slightly more like yellowy undertone to it, but same thing that I said about the Lunar Beauty. It's very floofy, very, very finely milled, and it's just not my preference. I feel like these types of powders don't mattify me enough. Like, I like more of a thicker powder. So I think I am just going to also declutter this one. These two are two of my absolute favorite powders in my collection. I use them daily. Maybelline Fit Me Loose Finishing Powder. This is my favorite under eye setting powder because it has somewhat of a almost, I want to say, hydrating quality, which sounds weird, but it just doesn't make my under eyes look dry, but it sets down my concealer very well, and they're both tinted, so they even provide a little extra coverage. I have Fair Light and Fair, depending on the time of year, so I'm absolutely going to keep both of these. Another one of my favorite setting powders, especially if I am performing and or if I am outside in the summertime and I need my face makeup to stay put. This is a great one. This is the One Size. It just says translucent powder. I don't know the real name of it, but this is a great one. Again, if you are very oily, if you need your makeup to stay put all day long, this is a great one. I love the packaging. It's super cute. There's a lot of product, and I do reach for this one quite often, so I'm going to keep it. Another one of these very, very finely milled powders is the Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Mini Instant Retouch Setting Powder. I have mine in Butter, which is like a slightly yellow undertone. I am going to pass this one on kind of for all the same reasons that I talked about with the Lunar Beauty and the Sigma. Very finely milled. Just doesn't really set my foundation down enough that I prefer, so I am going to pass this one on. And then last but not least, I have the Ilia Fade Into You Soft Focus Finishing Powder. This used to be my absolute favorite setting powder. It is actually an HD powder, which is like the stark white powder. And I used this for the first time in a really long time the other day because I knew I was going to be doing a declutter and I wanted to kind of get my thoughts on it again. And I loved how this made my skin look absolutely airbrushed, flawless. I won't be wearing this if I'm ever going to be in flash photography, which, let's be honest, like, when am I ever in flash photography? I'm not that famous, but absolutely love this one. It is quite expensive and it's a small amount of product that you get in it. I was really surprised at how beautiful it made my like T-zone and under eyes look. Once again, I'm at the 50% mark. I'm so excited. 6 gone, 6 kept. I feel really good about that. All the ones I'm keeping are ones that I reach for and or ones that I want to get back into, like this Ilia one. And this ColourPop one is almost gone. You know, I just want to use it up. So I'm feeling super, super good about that. All right, and that is it for this complexion declutter. I hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear your thoughts on any of the products that I talked about today in the video, or let me know like some of your most favorite complexion products that you tried this year, or are there any complexion products that you are decluttering from your collection? I would really love to know. And if you did enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps me out a lot when you do that. And if you're not already subscribed to my channel, I would love it if you would consider subscribing before you leave. I do upload videos weekly and I'd love to see you back on my channel again. I want to thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time.